Hi everyone, I'm Koryn Okey and welcome back to Breezeway Academy. At Breezeway Academy, you'll learn how to build stronger, more professional vacation rental operations. So whether you manage 10 homes or 1,000, this series is here to give you proven systems, practical frameworks, and real-world best practices that you can apply immediately. At Breezeway, we work with thousands of property managers around the world, and every day we get to see how high-performing operators structure their teams, build their workflows, and deliver 5-star stays consistently. But we also see where operations breaks down. So in this series, Housekeeping Excellence, we're going to break down what it actually takes to build and run a smooth, scalable housekeeping operations in your vacation rental business. So far, we've covered how you structure your cleaning team, how to find and retain great cleaners, how to pay them fairly, and how to define the different types of cleans that you'll be completing. Now, we're going to bring all of that together with one of the most important tools in your operations, your checklist. Because if there's one thing that separates consistent professional operators from reactive ones, it's having a checklist that actually works. Now, a cleaning checklist isn't just a list of tasks. It's actually how you translate your standards into something that your team can follow every time they're out in the field doing work. Without a checklist, your operation just relies on memory and your cleaners decide what clean means. So your training can also become inconsistent. And that means that the quality varies from property to property or cleaner to cleaner. But with a strong checklist, expectations are clear and your team knows exactly what needs to be done. Your managers can easily verify the work and your guests have the same experience every time they walk into a property under your portfolio. A checklist is the difference between hoping that a property is ready and knowing that it is. Every vacation rental property is different. So how do you build a checklist that works? So let's walk through it step by step. The first step is simple, but it's often skipped. Start by walking the property yourself. You need to do this alone and not quickly, not at a high level, but you need to go room by room and think through every detail from the guest's perspective. What are the high-touch areas? What are some small details that your guests will notice? What are the things that are easy to miss? If you wouldn't check it yourself, you can't expect a cleaner to catch it. And your checklist should reflect your standards. It shouldn't be based on assumptions. Next, you need to separate your checklist based off of the type of work being done. As we talked about in the last video, not all cleans are created the same, and a standard turnover clean has a very different scope than a deep clean. Your turnover cleans focus on guest-facing essentials. They're done with speed and precision, and your deep cleans are more focused on details that are less frequently checked that protect the long-term quality of the property. If you try to use one checklist for everything, you're either going to overwhelm your team or you'll miss important details. Your checklist should also reflect your brand. What does clean actually mean for your business? So that might include how the beds are made, how the towels are folded, what supplies are placed and where, how your amenities are presented. You want to document these things down to the details because two properties can be equally clean but feel completely different to a guest. Your checklist is going to ensure that your standards are delivered consistently across all of your homes. Because every property is different, that means that each property should have its own custom checklists. Some will have pools, some will have hot tubs, some have unique appliances or layouts, and some owners have very specific preferences. One of the biggest mistakes operators can make is keeping that information separate from your checklist in notes or emails or worse yet, in someone's memory. Additionally, property-specific details should be built directly into your checklist. You want to include reference photos in that checklist of exactly how the owner wants the throw pillows arranged or whatever other scenario you have in your business. But that way, the cleaners don't have to guess and nothing gets missed and you get fewer calls from your owners because your owner expectations shouldn't live in someone's inbox. They should live in your system. Now, creating a checklist is one thing, but getting your team to regularly use it is another, and this is where many operators fall short. Paper checklists or static documents might work at a small scale, but as you grow, they'll break down, and they get outdated or ignored by cleaners because they become familiar with the property. Paper checklists are hard to enforce, and there's no visibility into whether the work is actually being done. A checklist only works if it's part of the workflow, not separate from it. For a checklist to work in the field, it needs to be simple, clear, and easy to follow. Tasks should be written out in plain language and follow a logical order that matches how the cleaner moves through the home. They should also remove any guesswork, not add to it. Your cleaners should be able to reference details, understand expectations, and move effectively through the task. And this is where digital checklists make a huge difference. With Breezeway, checklists live directly inside the task that's being created. Your cleaners access them on our mobile app while they're at a property, even if they don't have Wi-Fi. Those checklists can be translated into different languages, making them accessible to diverse teams. As managers, you can include reference photos that show exactly what done should look like. And as tasks are completed, that property status is updating in real time, which turns your checklist into a working system, not just a document. But a checklist only works if your cleaners actually use it. So let's talk about accountability. Even with a strong checklist, you need to have a way for them to verify that the work was done, and this is where that documentation comes in. In Breezeway's mobile checklists, you can make it a requirement to upload photos of specific checklist items. For example, emptying the fridge or placing the amenities. And this level of documentation creates a record of what was done, what the property looked like before the next guest arrived. It's also good practice to take photos when you arrive at a property after a guest has departed, in case there are any claims after the fact. All of this protects your team and protects your business, and it reduces disputes. Photos turn a checklist from a to-do list to proof of work. This also ties directly into something that we covered in the last video, which is cleaner pay. One of the biggest sources of confusion is not knowing what work is being paid for. But when checklists are tied to task completion and the task completion is tied to payment, everything becomes clearer. Your cleaners know what's expected, your managers know what was done, and the payments are based on that verified work, not guesswork. All of this reduces the back and forth, it improves trust, and it makes your operation more efficient. So let's take a quick look at how this comes together in Breezeway. Each task, regardless of the type of clean, has its own checklist. Those tasks are organized by room, and we have clear instructions for each step. There are property-specific notes that are included as needed, and reference photos help the cleaners know the expected results. As the cleaner moves through the task, they can mark off the work that's already been completed and upload any documentation that's required. From a manager's perspective, you get to see what's been completed, what's still in progress, and whether or not the property is ready for the next guest. All of this creates so much more visibility across your entire organization. Before we wrap up, let's look at a few common mistakes. One is overloading your checklist with too many tasks. When a checklist becomes too long or it's overly detailed, your cleaners might rush through it or they start to ignore parts of it altogether. A good checklist should be thorough, but also practical and usable in the time allotted. Another mistake is using the same checklist for every property. Different homes have different needs, and your checklist should reflect those differences. A one-size-fits-all approach leads to missed details and poor quality. We also see operators creating checklists but never updating them. As your standards evolve, as there are upgrades to the property made, or as owners buy new furniture, your checklist should update along with those improvements. Otherwise, your system's just outdated. And finally, not reviewing checklist completion regularly. If managers aren't checking that the tasks are being completed properly, then accountability breaks down. A checklist that no one looks at is just busy work. Creating a strong cleaning checklist is one of the most important steps that you can take to build a scalable housekeeping operation. It turns your standards into systems, and it gives your team clarity. Plus, it gives you visibility into what's happening across your entire portfolio. And more importantly, it ties everything that we've covered in this series together. Choosing the right team, hiring and training the right cleaners, paying them fairly, defining the different types of work that's done, and now creating a system that ensures it all gets done the right way. Housekeeping excellence isn't just about working harder. It's about building systems that work for you. Feel free to drop a comment below if you have any questions, or click the link below to book time with our team of experts. Thanks for joining us for this Housekeeping Excellence series of Breezeway Academy, and we'll see you in the next one.